Picture a bedroom lit by a trembling candle. Outside, the wind scrapes the walls, and on a thin window pane, frost spreads like white veins, winter drawing its own map. Now imagine this isn't a scene. It's your real night. This was the lived reality for our ancestors, a nightly battle against a cold that could seep into the very marrow of their bones. In an age before central heating and double glazing, survival was not a given. It was an art form, a science of small, deliberate acts that made the difference between a restful sleep and a perilous, shivering vigil. The bedroom was not merely a place of rest, but a final bastion against the relentless siege of winter. Tonight we peel back the layers of time to uncover the forgotten wisdom of those who came before us. We're stepping into a hidden world of historical ingenuity, revealing bedroom hacks used before 1950 that can still cut heating costs and change the way you sleep. These are not quaint historical footnotes. They are practical, powerful lessons in thermal dynamics, born from necessity and perfected over generations. We will explore how the simple placement of a bed, the layers of a blanket, and even the humble newspaper were wielded as sophisticated tools in the fight for warmth, a fight that, in many ways, we are still waging today in our own homes. The knowledge of the past is a powerful tool for the present. It connects us to the resilience of the human spirit and offers elegant solutions to modern problems. To continue this exploration into our shared history of survival, your support is essential. Support Survival Sensei. Like this video, share it, comment which hack surprised you most, and subscribe so you never miss the next journey into the practical genius of the past. Together, let us learn from the quiet intelligence of our ancestors and bring their warmth into our own lives. In the theatre of survival, every decision, no matter how small, has consequences. Consider the simple act of placing a bed. Today it is a matter of aesthetics, of feng shui, of convenience. But for our ancestors it was a calculation of life and death. The cardinal rule, unspoken yet universally understood, was to never place a bed against an exterior wall. These outer walls, facing the full brutal assault of the winter winds, acted as thermal sinks, relentlessly drawing precious heat away from any object they touched, including a sleeping human body. To sleep against such a wall was to invite the cold directly into your bones. The uninsulated stone, brick or timber would conduct the chill of the outside world inward, creating a zone of perpetual coldness. The human body, a delicate furnace of 37 degrees Celsius, would be locked in a losing battle, constantly shedding its warmth into the unyielding mass of the wall. This process, known as conduction, meant that no amount of blankets could truly protect the sleeper. It was a silent, invisible drain on their vital energy, leaving them vulnerable, chilled, and less able to face the rigours of the coming day. And so, the bed was always placed against an interior wall. These walls, buffered by the other rooms of the house, held a more stable ambient temperature. They did not steal heat, instead they reflected it back. Placing the bed here was a strategic retreat, a conscious decision to create a sanctuary insulated by the very structure of the home. This simple act of placement was the first line of defence, a foundational principle of thermal efficiency that turned the bedroom from a cold trap into a defensible keep, proving that in the struggle for warmth, location is everything. Within the confines of a single unheated room, a complex and invisible drama unfolds. It is a world governed by the fundamental laws of physics, where air itself stratifies into distinct layers of temperature. Cold air, being denser and heavier than warm air, does not mix freely. Instead, it sinks. It pools on the floor, creating a vast invisible lake of icy air that can be several degrees colder than the air just a few feet above. For our ancestors, this was the lake of ice, and to sleep at its level was to be submerged in the coldest part of the room all night long. This phenomenon, known as thermal stratification, meant that the floor was the most dangerous place to be. Lying on a simple pallet or low mattress directly on the floorboards was an invitation for the cold to envelop the body. The cold would creep up through the mattress, chilling the sleeper from below, while the cold air pooled around them, stealing warmth from above. This is why the evolution of the bed was not just about comfort, but about elevation. Raising the bed was a critical act of survival, lifting the sleeper out of the coldest stratum of air and into the more temperate layers above. The four-poster bed, often seen as a symbol of wealth, had its origins in this practical need. Its height was its genius. By lifting the mattress 2 or 3 feet off the ground, it placed the sleeper securely above the frigid zone. Every inch of elevation was a victory against the cold. This simple vertical shift could mean the difference of several degrees, a significant margin in a room hovering near freezing. It was an ingenious, passive solution, using an understanding of natural air movement to create a warmer, safer sleeping environment. The bed became a platform, a raised island of relative warmth in a sea of cold. In the harshest climates of Europe, from the windswept coasts of Brittany to the cold highlands of Scotland, a remarkable piece of furniture evolved. It was more than a bed, it was a fortress of slumber, a personal shelter within a shelter. This was the box bed, or lit close. Constructed from solid wood, it was a fully enclosed cabinet, often with doors or sliding panels, that transformed the act of sleeping into an act of complete insulation. It was, in essence, a room within a room, a medieval survival pod designed for one purpose: to hoard and concentrate body heat. The genius of the box bed lay in its creation of a microclimate. A sleeping human generates a surprising amount of warmth. In an open room, this heat dissipates almost immediately into the vast cold space. But within the confined volume of the box bed, it was trapped. The sleeper's own body heat would slowly warm the small pocket of air inside the enclosure, raising the temperature significantly higher than that of the surrounding room. The wooden walls, while not perfect insulators, served to dramatically slow the rate of heat loss, creating a stable, warm cocoon. Often shared by multiple family members, the combined body heat would make these enclosures remarkably cosy, even on the most bitter of nights. Curtains could be hung inside for privacy, and small cutouts or air holes, often decoratively carved, allowed for just enough ventilation to prevent the air from becoming too stale, without sacrificing the precious warmth. The box bed represents a profound understanding of thermal dynamics. It is a testament to the ingenuity of people who, lacking central heating, engineered their own personal heating systems using the most reliable furnace they had, the human body itself. The window has always been a paradox in architecture, a source of light and a view to the world, but also a gaping wound in a home's thermal envelope. Before the 20th century, windows were almost exclusively single-paned. A thin sheet of glass was all that separated the warmth of the inside from the bitter cold of the outside. This single pane offered almost no insulating value. It was a thermal thief, conducting heat out of the room with ruthless efficiency. Standing near such a window in winter, one could feel the cold radiating from it, creating powerful chilling draughts as the warm room air cooled against its surface and tumbled to the floor. To counter this relentless heat loss, our ancestors developed a sophisticated system of window dressings that were far more than mere decoration. The first line of defence was heavy drapes. These were not the light, airy curtains of today, but formidable barriers woven from thick, dense materials like wool, velvet, or brocade. When drawn, they created a trapped layer of air between the fabric and the cold glass. This pocket of still air acted as an insulator, significantly slowing the rate of heat transfer and reducing the chilling, radiant effect of the cold pane. But the fortifications did not end there. Above the drapes, a crucial feature known as a pelmet or cornice box was often installed. This was a wooden or fabric-covered box that capped the top of the window. Its purpose was to stop a convection loop. Warm air from the room would otherwise flow over the top of the curtains, cool against the window, and sink to the floor, creating a persistent draught. The pelmet blocked this loop, sealing the top of the window dressing. In the most extreme conditions, a window quilt, a thick padded blanket, was hung or buttoned directly against the window frame at night, providing the highest level of insulation possible. These layers were a multi-stage defence system, turning a thermal liability into a defensible boundary. Once the room was secured as best as possible, the final battle for warmth was fought in the bed itself. The bed was not just a piece of furniture, but a carefully constructed micro-fortress, a layered system designed to trap and preserve body heat throughout the long, cold night. The principle was simple, and, it's familiar to anyone who has dressed for cold weather layers. Multiple thin layers trap air more effectively than a single thick one. The air pocketed between each sheet, blanket, and quilt becomes an insulating barrier, preventing the body's warmth from escaping. The construction of this fortress began from the mattress up. The first layer might be a feather bed or a thick wool mattress topper, providing a soft, insulating base that prevented cold from rising from below. Then came the sheets, typically linen or later cotton flannel, which feels warmer to the touch than plain cotton. Above this, the layering began in earnest. A series of wool blankets, each one trapping its own layer of air. The final crucial layer was the quilt or eiderdown, a heavy covering filled with down, wool, or even repurposed rags, which served as the main bulwark against the cold air of the room. But simply piling on layers was not enough. The true art lay in securing the fortress. Blankets were not just draped, they were meticulously tucked. Each layer was tucked tightly under the mattress on all three sides, sealing the edges and preventing cold draughts from sneaking in. This technique, known as making a hospital corner today, was a survival skill. It stopped convective heat loss, where the body's warmth would create air currents that draw cold air in from the sides. By tucking and layering, our ancestors transformed their beds into highly efficient, personalized sleeping envelopes, ensuring that the heat they generated remained with them until morning. Even with the most carefully prepared room and bed, the initial shock of climbing into icy sheets could be a miserable, even dangerous experience. It could take a considerable amount of time for body heat alone to warm the bedding to a comfortable temperature. To bridge this gap, our ancestors employed a brilliantly simple form of active heating. They preheated their beds using thermal ballasts, objects with high thermal mass that could absorb heat from a fire and release it slowly over several hours. This was the original low-tech electric blanket. The most common tools for this task were warming pans, soapstone bricks, or even ordinary field stones. A warming pan was a metal container, usually brass or copper, with a long handle and a hinged lid. It would be filled with hot coals or embers from the hearth, and then, with the lid closed to prevent sparks from setting the bed alight, it was swept between the sheets. It quickly and effectively drove the damp and chill from the bedding, leaving behind a welcoming warmth. The long handle allowed one to warm the entire bed, right down to the foot, without having to lean over. For a longer-lasting heat, soapstone was the material of choice. This dense metamorphic rock has a remarkable capacity to absorb and radiate heat slowly and evenly. A soapstone brick would be left by the fire during the day to heat up. Before bed, it would be wrapped in a thick cloth or flannel to prevent scorching the sheets or the sleeper, and then placed at the foot of the bed. It acted as a personal radiator, gently releasing its stored warmth for hours, keeping feet toasty and preventing the deep chill from setting in. This ancient practice of carrying heat from the fire to the bed is the direct ancestor of the modern hot water bottle, a testament to a simple, effective idea that has endured for centuries. Survival is often the mother of invention, and, well, ingenuity flourishes when resources are scarce. For families who could not afford thick drapes, extra blankets, or purpose-made insulators, the fight against the cold demanded creativity. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, as newspapers became cheap and widely available, they were repurposed into a surprisingly effective tool for warmth. Discarded paper, it turned out, was an excellent insulator, and people learned to wield it with remarkable cleverness. One of the most common uses was as a form of makeshift wallpaper or draft-proofing. Sheets of newspaper were layered and pasted onto interior walls, particularly cold exterior-facing walls, using a simple flour and water paste. The multiple layers of paper, with microscopic pockets of air trapped between them, created a significant insulating barrier. It was a cheap and accessible way to add an extra R value to a poorly built wall, reducing both conductive heat loss and blocking tiny drafts that whistled through cracks in the plaster or wood. The use of newspaper extended to the bed itself. For those lacking sufficient blankets, layers of newspaper were placed between the mattress and the bottom sheet, or between the blankets themselves. The paper served the same function as an extra blanket, trapping air and preventing heat from escaping. Some people would even stuff their clothes with crumpled newspaper for an extra layer of insulation when sleeping. This was not about comfort in the modern sense. It was about the raw physics of survival. It demonstrates a powerful truth, that with knowledge and resourcefulness, even the most humble disposable materials can be transformed into tools that protect and sustain life. As we draw the curtains on our journey tonight, we see that warmth was never a given. It was earned. Our ancestors survived harsh winters not through better technology, but through better instincts and a deep, practical understanding of their environment. Warmth was never an accident. It was discipline. It was the discipline to place the bed correctly, to raise it from the floor, to block the thieving windows, to meticulously layer and tuck the bedding, and to carry the heat of the fire into the sheets. Each action was a small but vital deposit into an account of survival, ensuring they would see the morning's light. These are not just stories of a bygone era. They are a blueprint for resilience. In a world of rising energy costs and concerns about sustainability, the wisdom of the past offers us elegant, low-cost solutions. By adopting some of these principles, we can make our own homes more comfortable, reduce our reliance on central heating, and forge a deeper connection to the fundamental elements of shelter and comfort. The ingenuity of those who faced the cold with little more than their wits is a legacy we can all draw upon. Their quiet intelligence continues to echo in these simple, powerful techniques. The past has so much more to teach us, and our exploration is far from over. If you learned something valuable today, subscribe to Survival Sensei for more journeys into the practical genius of history. Share this with someone who needs warmer nights, and I'll see you in the next episode. Stay warm, stay curious, and stay resilient.